Robert Johnson went to a local crossroads with his guitar before midnight. He started playing his songs, and at midnight, the devil appeared. The devil took the guitar and tuned it, played a song, and gave it back to Johnson. This was the transaction, the turning point for Johnson as a musician. He had given up his soul to the devil himself and was a master of guitar.
What's good? Dark Knight gang in this thing, gang. I told you I'm dropping a video tonight titled The Man Who Sold His Soul to the Devil. And this is from the YouTube channel, DeBerg321. Yeah, man, y'all requested it. Don't trip, you not. Got y'all. It's about some dude named Robert Johnson. I've never heard of this. Maybe I have. I have no clue. If I have, I've just forgotten it. You know what I'm saying? This is about to be interesting. We're going to hear somebody who sold his soul to the devil. Before we hop into it, I want to know, do you believe that's possible? Do you believe you can sell your soul to the devil? Let me know down in the comments. Me personally, I don't think you can. I don't think you can sell your soul to the devil. You probably could promise the devil, like, hey, devil, I'll do this for that. But I don't think you can say, hey, I'll give my soul to you. I don't think you can. Because all of us come from the one creator, right? Even the devil. Think about this, bro. Think about this. The devil comes from the ultimate God, the ultimate creator, whatever his name is. You guys know I'm not religious, but I do believe in a God and a creator, whatever created all of this. Clearly something created all of this. You know what I'm saying? So there's one creator that created everything. That creator also created the devil. So the devil's soul belongs to the ultimate creator as well. So you can't give your soul to someone whose soul belongs to something else. That's like you saying, hey, Brandon, I'm going to sell my soul to you. You can't sell your soul to me when I come from the same creator. That's my logic behind it personally. Some of you guys may not agree with me, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But that's what I believe personally. That's why I don't believe in any religion. That's why I don't believe in Jesus Christ. Because Jesus came from the same creator just like you and me. So why are you praying to another being that came from the same creator? There's only one creator that created everything. It created Satan, the devil, Jesus, Buddha, all the other gods. Like, do you see what I'm saying? There's only one creator, bro. So you can't sell your soul to a creation. You are a creation. Just like the devil is a creation, you are a creation. So you can't sell your soul to another creation. That's my logic behind it. That's what I think personally. So I don't think you can sell your soul to the devil. I think you could definitely make bargaining agreements with the devil. Like, hey, I'll do this for you, and in return, you give me this. But I don't think you can sell your soul. But that's just my take on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not all-knowing. Nah, that's just my own personal beliefs. That's my logic behind it. So for me, that's how I live my life. That's why I don't believe in any particular religion. I think there's only one creator. It created all good. It created all evil. So it doesn't matter. Like, you feel me? But anyway, I'm ready to see the man that sold his soul to the devil. This is about to be interesting. I know I believe differently than a lot of you guys. It doesn't matter. You still part of the gang. We're still homies. Just because we have different belief systems, that doesn't mean anything, bro. We can still love one another, you feel me? But yeah, I'm ready to hop into this video. Like I said, let me know down in the comments what you think about it. Do you think you can sell your soul to the devil? And if you can, what do you think you get in return? That's a good question. Hypothetically, if you can sell your soul to the devil, let's say you could. I think he'll probably give you whatever you want. If you giving him your soul, you probably get whatever you want. You want riches and fame? You want all the money? You want all the women in the world? You probably can. But anyway, let's hop into this video. I'm excited for this. This is about to be fire. Shout out to the gang. Everybody have a good night. Let's go. Oh, he's a musician too. Why musicians always gotta do something with spirits? What's up with us? Morbid musicians.
His name is synonymous with blues. His music made him one of the most iconic figures in his genre. He is cemented as a legend. And yet, very little is known about Robert Johnson. 29 songs, 2 verified photographs, and hundreds of unanswered questions. Johnson's life, his story, and his artistry is wrapped in mystery to this day, but his music resonates with millions. However, Johnson wasn't always a brilliant musician. In fact, he was considered to be relatively untalented, even up until his early 20s. Allegedly, he improved rapidly on the guitar. So much so that a legend was born that Johnson sold his soul to the devil so that he could become a master of the guitar. Johnson passed away under mysterious circumstances at 27 years old, giving birth to the infamous 27 Club and adding yet another question mark onto his already confusing story.
That's interesting. So he was completely trashed, and out of nowhere he got better. It couldn't just be because he practiced a lot. Let's keep watching. It's interesting though.
Robert was born on the 8th of May, 1911, to parents Julia Dodds and Noah Johnson in Hazelhurst, Mississippi. His mother had already given birth to 10 kids with her husband Charles, but Robert was born out of wedlock, illegitimately, and had a father who he most likely never met or spoke to. His stepfather, Charles, was a reasonably successful landowner, but after getting into a dispute with a lynch mob, he was forced to move to Memphis, and Robert would eventually be sent there to live with him until he was around 8 or 9 years old. At that age, he moved back to Mississippi to live with his mother and her new husband, Dusty Willis. In his teenage years, Robert began to gain an interest in music and dabbled in some different aspects of it. He learned the basics of the guitar from one of his brothers, and he was cited as being a talented harmonica player. We can also assume that he was writing songs and singing during this time. But all of this wasn't very appealing to his new stepfather, who wanted him to work on the plantation fields. This would lead to a conflict between the two, and while he was still a teenager, Robert would try and find his own freedom and independence. This started when he was 19. He married a 16-year-old Virginia Travis on the 17th of February, 1929, but unfortunately, she would die a year later while giving birth. Robert was now a 20-year-old widow with a stepfather he didn't like, a father he never met, and a wife who had just passed away. And lest we forget, he was an African-American man living in the South in the early 20th century.
Oh, yeah.
Basically,
his life was pretty hard. He just had a baby. His wife died after being married for 1 year. His daddy didn't want him. His stepfather didn't want him. And he was in the South. Yeah, that's crazy.
Had an intense childhood, and his adult life wasn't looking very good either.
Yeah.
At this stage, all Robert really had was his music.
I wonder if that's why he sold his soul. He felt like he didn't have nothing to lose. But let's see. Hold on. Let's continue to watch.
It was around this time that legendary blues icon Son House moved to a town that was near where Robert lived. All of a sudden, a lost and impressionable Robert Johnson was listening to one of the greatest blues artists of his generation perform live every week at the local juke joint. At this point, Robert had some musical ability, but it was mainly at the previously mentioned harmonica, so he wasn't considered talented enough to perform at these establishments, but during the breaks, Johnson would ask if he could play their guitars. In one of the most famous interviews ever given about Robert Johnson, Son House states that he was terrible and that he was often asked to stop playing.
Oh, snap. He was that bad?
Willie around on Saturday night, Willie Brown. And every time we stop for rest and sit there, little guitar over in the corner or something and go out to catch air, get the guitar and be trying to play it and be just noising the people, And the folks would come out and say, why don't some of y'all go in there and make that boy put that thing down, he's running us crazy.
Johnson may have been in the correct environment to observe the music he wanted to play, but because of his lack of resources and the ridicule he was subjected to when he attempted to perform, he was in the wrong environment to learn. This may have been the reason he left. He did remarry in 1931, but that didn't stop him from traveling around the South for about a year. This is a confusing space of time that is responsible for many of the myths revolving around Johnson. Some people speculated that he left to try and find his biological father, while others believed that he was exclusively focusing on improving his craft. But the other theory, and strangely the most popular one, is that Robert Johnson made a deal with the devil.
See, that's what I'm saying. The whole time he could have been practicing. But I'm here for it. Let's see. Getting to the deal.
The story goes that Robert Johnson went to a local crossroads with his guitar before midnight. He started playing his songs, and at midnight, the devil appeared. The Devil took the guitar and tuned it, played a song and gave it back to Johnson. This was the transaction, the turning point for Johnson as a musician. He had given up his soul to the devil himself and was a master of guitar. But with this, his soul was doomed to hell and an untimely demise was in his future. The reason people believe that this is what happened is because of a man named Liddell Johnson, who in 1971 said that this was the way to sell your soul and that his brother Tommy had actually done this. There was no relation between Tommy and Robert, but that didn't stop people from taking this tale and attaching it to Robert's name. At least that's how the story goes. It's obviously a far-fetched tale, but it shows us how impressive and quick Johnson's improvement must have been.
Wait. Hold on. Let's hear that again. He says someone else claimed that their brother
And
sold
gave
their
it back
soul.
to Johnson. This was the transaction. The story goes that Robert Johnson went to a local crossroads with his guitar before midnight. He started playing his songs, and at midnight, the devil appeared.
came.
The devil took the guitar and tuned it,
it.
played a song, and gave it back to Johnson.
And that's how he
this
sold his
was
soul.
the transaction, the turning point for Johnson as a musician. He had given up his soul to the devil himself and was a master of guitar. But with this, his soul was doomed to hell and an untimely demise was in his future. The reason people believe that this is what happened is because of a man named Liddell Johnson, who in 1971 said that this was the way
with
to
his
sell
brother,
your
right?
soul and that his brother Tommy had actually done this. There was no relation between Tommy and Robert, but that didn't stop people from taking this tale
So just because this dude said that's what his brother did, people saying this is what the other
and
homie
attaching
did.
it to Robert's name. At
That'd be
least
crazy
that's
if he
how the
did,
story goes. It's obviously a far-fetched
crazy.
tale, but it
Yeah,
shows us how
far-fetched,
impressive
for
and
sure.
quick Johnson's improvement must have been. The only way the public were able to justify his talents was with a story that was this insane, which in itself tells us why Robert Johnson was so good. One thing is almost certain. Between the years of 1930 and 1932, something happened that made Johnson go from being considered embarrassingly bad to one of the greatest guitarists of all time.
Could have been practicing
When he
every
finally
day.
returned to play for Son House, nobody was telling him to stop. He was so good, when he finished, all our mouths were standing
Cuz
open.
he could have been practicing every day, bro. You
Johnson
gotta
took
practice.
his new talents and began traveling with fellow artist Johnny Shines, where he improved his craft even further. But he still hadn't recorded anything and his talents were being wasted. It was the mid-1930s and his second wife had passed away. Johnson was determined to record and make a name for himself. He went into a man named H.C. Spears' store, who worked for the ARC record label. Finally, in November of 1936, Johnson was in a studio recording the first of his almost 30 songs. He would continuously return to record until the summer of 1937. He made okay money doing this and had amassed a small but loyal fan base, but Johnson wasn't a household name by any means. His music had some dark undertones. Songs like Me and the Devil Blues, If I Had Possession Over Judgment Day, Hellhound on My Trail, and of course, Crossroad Blues. Dark themes.
All right, bro. I got a theory. Let's keep going.
Like hell,
Let's
the
keep
devil,
going.
and death were prominent in his music.
I got
and
a
this did nothing but add
theory.
fuel to his already dark image.
Yeah.
But this was
I got
par
a
for the
theory.
course for blues. These weren't new thematic explorations, they were cemented attributes of the genre. But people emphasized Johnson's dark lyrics to add to the narrative, even though there were hundreds of similar acts doing the same thing. Regardless, the recordings were done, and unfortunately, that would be Johnson's entire discography, because a year later, he would die.
All right, I got a theory, you guys. I need you to hear me out because I'm an artist as well. I just started music 2 years ago myself, remember? I just started. A lot of people always question me, how are you so good? You just started. It makes no sense. How you able to sing, woo, woo, woo? And as you can see, all my songs are kind of dark. They all have a dark vibe. I don't talk about happy stuff. All of it is kind of emotional and dark as well. Now, here's my theory, man. As an artist, as a musician, you have to really tap into your creativity. They have to tap into their emotions. There are artists out there who tap into the happy creativity side and they're able to express themselves with happy songs. Me, I cannot make happy songs. I try, they all come out trash because that's not part of my creativity. All of my stuff has to be dark. I have to talk about heartbreak. I have to talk about doing women dirty. I have to talk about me being hurt. I have to talk about drugs. That's just where my creativity comes from. So here's my theory. As an artist, I understand. With this dude, he probably was trying to play regular blues like everyone else, right? He was trying to do what everyone else was doing. He couldn't tap into his creativity because he was trying to do what everyone else is doing. But once he tapped into his dark side, he was really able to tap into himself, his creativity. And that's why all of his music is dark. Think about this. Quentin Tarantino, the director who directs movies, all of his movies are gory and they're all pretty dark, right? That's his creative side. He's a little bit off. Some of us are just like that. That's our creativity. We're all different, so you got to remember that. Some people, like I said, they get their creativity only from the light side, and all they can do is happy-go-lucky stuff. They can't access the sadness, the darkness. They can't do that. However, there's some of us who only we can access the sadness, the darkness, the pain, the hurt, and that's where our creativity comes from. And it sounds like that's what happened with that dude. That's why he was trash at first. He was probably trying to do some happy-go-lucky stuff. He couldn't do it. But then he practiced, and then he realized, hey, I got to tap into my dark side. And that's why all of his songs were dark, but he started killing it. So I understand. He didn't make no deal with the devil. He just tapped into himself. I'm telling you. But let's keep going. This is interesting. I made this video really long.
On the
It
16th
is
of
what it
August,
is.
1938, Robert Johnson, aged 27, was found dead. Very little is known about the specifics of his untimely demise. In fact, the actual date he died wasn't discovered for another 30 years when music journalist Gail Dean Wardlow found his death certificate. It didn't have any cause of death, so we weren't given any answers in that department, but of course, there are theories. The first theory, which is the most plausible and the most boring, is that Robert died from untreated syphilis that he had inherited from one of his parents. It was a common problem for low-income families at the time, and it's entirely possible that Johnson was a victim of this. But if you haven't figured it out yet, nothing is ever black and white with Robert Johnson. And as you probably expected, there is a second theory that Johnson was murdered. Johnson had been performing for a few weeks at a country dance that was only 15 miles away from where he was found. Allegedly, he was flirting with a married woman at these dances. Her husband gave Robert a drink, but Sonny Boy Williamson, a fellow musician and friend of Johnson, slapped the drink out of his hand and told him that it was dangerous to accept drinks from unknown people. Johnson was angry at Williamson for doing this, and he accepted a second drink from the husband, which he did consume. Williamson wrote an account about this, and he was a well-respected figure of the blues community who had a confirmed association with Johnson, so it is entirely possible that he was telling the truth. Whether Johnson was actually poisoned is a different story altogether. However, Robert Mac McCormack, a notable blues researcher, claimed that he tracked down the man who killed Johnson and actually got a confession from him. He declined to reveal the name or release the confession, which seems like a strange thing to do. If you were a blues researcher and found out who killed one of the genre's biggest icons, it's very strange that you wouldn't release that information. But these accounts and statements have made this second theory more believable, and a lot of people do believe it to be true. Either way, the end result was the same. Johnson had passed at the young age of 27, with very few answers as to what happened, concluding his already insane life with an ending that was incredibly unfortunate and untimely, but morbidly fitting for such a mysterious and interesting character. Some of his friends, associates, and peers wouldn't find out about his death for a long time, not until they looked for him and realized through word of mouth that he was gone. It seemed as if Johnson would fade into obscurity. For 2 decades after his death, he remained a relatively unknown figure in the music world, but in 1961, Columbia Records released the album, King of the Delta Blues Singers, a compilation of Johnson's work that would achieve immense success and bring his music to a wider audience. It was widely considered to be one of the greatest albums of all time, and it solidified Johnson as a blues legend. He was finally recognized, and while he wasn't able to enjoy the fruits of his labor, the world could enjoy his work and admire his greatness. His dream of becoming one of the greatest blues artists of all time was finally realized.
After he was dead. Alright, let's see what the homie thinks about
Robert Johnson probably didn't sell his soul to the devil, but he did give his soul to blues. It could be argued that what Johnson managed to do in his short life was one of the greatest feats ever achieved by a musician. His short discography changed blues forever and influenced hundreds of notable musicians and continues to do so to this day. He won a Grammy in 1990 for Best Historical Album, his song Crossroad Blues was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame 8 years later, and he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1986. He has been cited as an influence to artists like Mick Jagger, Fleetwood Mac, Bob Dylan, and Eric Clapton. He did all of this in a very short span of time, with a life that was as difficult as any. He overcame it all and persevered to become one of music's most important icons.
I wonder if they got a movie about
It's very difficult
him.
to distinguish fact from fiction when it comes to this man. The historical inaccuracies, conspiracy theories, and sheer lack of any substantial documentation make his story a confusing one, but one thing is for certain: Robert Johnson was a legend.
After he was already gone, that's crazy though. All right, y'all. I want to know what you thought down in the comments. You guys basically heard all of my theories behind it. Like I said, I don't personally think he sold his soul. I don't think that you can sell your soul. I already talked about that in the beginning. I personally don't think he sold his soul. I told you why I think he got better. To me, I just think he practiced all the time and he was able to access his creativity. Our creativity doesn't come from our logical brain. It comes from the other side. It does. It comes from your either right or left. I forgot. But your logical brain is not your creative side. It's the other side. So I think he was trying to do what everyone else was doing. He was thinking with his logical brain, trying to be creative. And that's not how it works. Creativity is inspiration. You just have to tap into it, bro. I'm telling you. So he just learned, he practiced the guitar, learned how to play the guitar, and he just tapped into his creativity and his inspiration. And it turned out to be his dark side. Just like with me, just like some other artists I personally know. They only can tap into the creativity with their dark side. But let me know what you think down in the comments, man. Let me know what y'all think. Do you think the homie sold his soul? Do you think you can sell his soul? Do you agree with me about tapping into your dark side in order to tap into creativity? Or like I said, some people's creativity comes from the light side. Do you see what I'm saying? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're not an artist, so you have no clue what I'm talking about. Maybe you are an artist and you know what I'm talking about. But shout out to the gang. This was a great video. Thank you guys so much for requesting it. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.